In May 2015, in the quiet town of Hensley Township, Michigan, a neighbor noticed something wrong at the home of Martin and Glenna Duran. When police entered the house, they found a gruesome scene. The living room had been torn apart. 46-year-old Martin Durham was dead on the floor, having been shot 5 times. His wife, Glenna, was lying nearby with a severe gunshot wound to her head. Miraculously, Glenna survived. When she finally woke up in the hospital, she told police a terrifying story. She claimed a home invader had broken, attacked them, shot her husband, and then shot her. Police launched a frantic manhunt for the killer. They scoured the neighborhood, interviewed associates, and looked for forced entry. But nothing made sense. There were no footprints outside, no stolen valuables, no signs of a stranger. But they also had no proof to challenge Glenna's story. With no suspects and Glenna claiming severe memory loss from her brain injury, the investigation ground to a complete halt. For over a year, the case sat stagnant. Glenna walked free, playing the role of a grieving widow who had miraculously survived a home invasion. But there was a survivor in that house that police had overlooked. Sitting in the corner of the living room during the shooting was Martin's pet, an African grey parrot named Bud. African greys are highly intelligent. They don't just mimic sound, they absorb the tone, the pitch, and the exact cadence of human voices. After the murder, Martin's ex-wife, Christina, took Bud into her home to take care of him. A few weeks later, Bud started acting strangely. He would pace back and forth on his perch, highly agitated. Then he began to reenact a full-blown vicious argument. The terrifying part, he was using two distinct voices.
Get your on it now! Oh, shut up when you're no!
First, Bud would speak in a high-pitched, frantic voice of a woman. Then, he would respond in the deep, heavy voice of Martin Durham. The parrot was perfectly mimicking a chaotic, violent fight. Then came the chilling finale. At the end of the argument, the parrot lowered his voice, mimicking Martin perfectly, and screamed a single, terrifying phrase. Christiana's blood ran cold. She recorded the parrot's frantic reenactment and handed the tape over to the police. While a bird cannot legally testify in court, Bud's chilling mimicry completely shattered the home invader theory. The police realized Martin had not been killed by a stranger. He had been begging for his life from someone he knew. Re-energized by the bird's haunting echoes, investigators tore into Glenna's life. They uncovered massive hidden gambling debts. They discovered the murder weapon actually belonged to the family. Finally, buried in a pile of documents, they found 3 suicide notes Glenna had written to her family just before the shooting. There was no home invader. Glenna had murdered her husband, turned the gun on herself in a failed murder-suicide, and then used the head injury as an excuse to cover her tracks. She thought she was the only one left alive who knew the truth. She forgot about the bird sitting in the corner, recording her every word. In 2017, Glenna Durham was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. In the fall of 1994, a 32-year-old mother of 5 named Shirley Duguay vanished from Prince Edward Island, Canada. One evening, she left her house to get something, but she never returned. A few days later, her car was found abandoned in a rural dirt lot with blood all over the inside. The community was terrified. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police launched a massive search, but the island's dense wood and shifting weather made it incredibly difficult. Months dragged on. The trial went ice cold. The prime suspect was Shirley's estranged common-law husband, Douglas Beamish. He had a history of violent behavior and Shirley had recently left him. But detectives had a massive problem. They had absolutely no physical evidence tying him to a disappearance. Beamish denied everything, and without a body or a murder weapon, he walked free. The investigation stalled. Winter came and went. The police were desperate. Then, in the spring of 1995, a breakthrough came from the mud. Deep in the woods, miles from where the car was found, a searcher stumbled upon a shallow grave. It was Shirley. Not far from her remains, detectives found a heavily soiled, blood-stained men's leather jacket buried under a pile of leaves. The blood on the jacket matched Shirley, but the jacket itself couldn't be definitely linked to the Douglas Beamish. Anyone could have worn it. The case was about to hit another dead end, but a sharp-eyed forensic investigator noticed something tiny clinging to the inner lining of the leather. It wasn't human hair. It was a cluster of distinct, pure white animal hairs. Detectives immediately remembered something from their visit to Douglas Beamish's property. Roaming around his house was a large, fluffy, pure white cat named Snowball. Today, DNA testing is everywhere. But in 1994, testing animal DNA in a criminal investigation was close to a science fiction. It had never been done anywhere in the world. But detectives refused to give up. They called laboratories across the globe, pleading for someone to test the cat hair. Everyone told it was impossible. Finally, a genetist in the United States who specialized in feline DNA took on the impossible task. Investigators drove out to Beamish's property, found Snowball, the cat, and took a blood sample. Months later, the lab results came back. It was an absolute, undisputed match. The hair on the jacket worn by the killer belonged to Snowball. Douglas Beamish thought he had committed the perfect crime. He thought he had outsmarted the police, buried the evidence, and escaped justice. But what he didn't realize was his own pet had betrayed him, leaving an invisible genetic signature that made legal history. Because of Snowball, Beamish was convicted of murder, marking the very first time in forensic history that non-human DNA was used to solve a homicide. Animals may not understand the complexities of human malice, but sometimes they are the only one left to speak for the dead.